very good evening and welcome to the 8 p.m. news broadcast brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Nondobego Nzabgelwago and I am together with Zama Nzimanze. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. The Prime Minister says government is keen on making use of the many opportunities in the IC sector that have come about as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. The Deputy Prime Minister's office has presented the overview of the third COVID-19 regulations of 2020 to the Office Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly. The Minister of Public Works and Transport says the hostile relationship between the ministry's Principal Secretary and Central Transport General Transport Manager was caused by the closure of the CTA trading account. The news in detail. Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini says government is keen on making use of the many opportunities in the ICT sector that have come about as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. The Prime Minister was addressing participants of this year's ICT fair, which was held virtually.
The annual ICT fair in Eswatini was first hosted in 2017. This year, the fair, which attracts students, researchers, innovators, and industry, was held virtually. Addressing participants in this year's edition of the fair, Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini acknowledged that the outbreak of COVID-19 in Eswatini had presented numerous opportunities in the information and communication technology industry, which government is prepared to unlock.
Eswatini has seen a number of e-tools and e-platforms being introduced during this year alone. Tools which have seen the country move closer to His Majesty's vision of Eswatini's attaining first world status by year 2022. These tools include, but not limited to the Eswatini Trade Information Portal. Just this month, Eswatini launched the 50 Million African Women Speak platform, an initiative by the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, funded by the African Development Bank. The aim is to empower women entrepreneurs across Africa to not only trade amongst themselves, but also share knowledge and information about the vast opportunities for trade across Africa.
The Prime Minister says government views the ICT industry as one of the economy's key growth sectors.
The Kingdom of Eswatini has demonstrated political will towards mainstreaming ICT, and this is well documented in the strategic roadmap, the National Development Plan, the post-COVID-19 Economic Recovery Plan, and the Strategy for Sustainable Development and Inclusive Growth 2030, amongst others.
The annual ICT fair provides an avenue in which representatives from a broad cross-section of society share ideas on how the sector can be strengthened in Eswatini. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Mbongwa Dube in Mbabane.
The Deputy Prime Minister's office has presented the overview of the third COVID-19 regulations of 2020 to the Office Portfolio Committee. Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says it is crucial that these regulations come into force until the virus has ceased to be a pandemic.
Some of the sections amended in the regulations is Section 4, Subsection 2, which states that a gathering or assembly or procession of more than 20 persons in a closed area or 100 persons in an open area is legal. And Subsection 2 states that a wedding ceremony, funeral or memorial service or entertainment event in a closed area shall not exceed 100 or 200 people if held in an open area. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says until the pandemic is declared over, The COVID-19 regulations will be enforced because they help in the fight against the spread of the disease. He says reported cases seem to be declining of late. However, that does not mean governments should relax the regulations.
Now lesisibona nabo America nabo Europe lapha lo mkhuhlane sokuqale phansi ubuye ngedingane, so sithi ke lama regulations siwafakela kugatsa lesimo mhlambe lesingahle senteke nokuvikela ukuthi kungede kwakhula lo mkhuhlane kulabo bantu.
The portfolio committee members inquired on this section to get clarity.
Why are we not talking about it here?
And maybe said, "Ihola lelayisha 2,000 webantu. The 20 is still applicable now."
You don't invite people, but they come on their own. I'm a little guy. Nibatosha nini ngishonelwe lapha ngiyabikha ngiyakhala. Mfebezi owozami siyango abantu bafika ngikungizwela bayazizela bona, but lapha lo mthetho ngathi uthi funa kuboshwe mina lo shonela. Senifaka bini.
Zanele Mlambo from the AG's office responded to the MP's question, saying the restricted numbers are put in place to try and contain the spread and for reasons of insufficient capacity of law enforcement to ensure compliance.
Ikhuluma ngema-gatherings la angithi nje ngila-private i-address tinto letifana nama-private parties, lama-house parties. So kunaleyo ukuthi kumele eze siyibuka sicabange into ezaba enforcement kusita enforcera kanjani.
The regulations will be amended and eventually gazetted. Reporting, I'm Lungulele Makakula with Musim Konda in Babane.
The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlaluhlaza Ndwandwe, says the hostile relationship between the ministry's Principal Secretary, Kangeziwe Mabuza, and Central Transport General Transport Manager, Washington Khumalo, was caused by the closure of the CTA trading account. Senators commended the minister for closing the account as it had been a thorny issue for years.
On August 5, 2020, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works and Transport, Kangeziwe Mabuza, issued a memorandum to all government ministries where she communicated the closure of CTA trading account. According to the instrument, the shutting down of the trading account was with effect from April 2020. Workers' Union were against the changes, so it approached the court where it alleged that workers were not involved in the process. The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlaluhlaza Ndwandwe, says the changes on CTA created tension between Mabuza and Khumalo. The minister said this when updating senators on what government has done to close CTA trading account.
Sisusasaloku kungaboni ngasolinye bekungona lo msebenzi lo wekuthi kuvalwe le trading account langazange akwemukele kahle GTM lokho lokwende ukuthi naleminye imisebenzi bese seyiyaqhuda ngoba kubite ukuthi yonke imisebenzi yendawo ye-CTA sale i-charge at 53 kepha ke i-CTA they insist ukuthi yona yathi ukuthi isebenza nga-head 91 kwathi kukulowo msindvo kwasekugcina kufika sekungena netinyonyane ke ephathi on behalf of tisebenzi kulapho uhulumende abese soyabopheka ke enkantolo lokugcine kwenta ke lemisindvo lekhona kube likhulu nekusebenza ngoba ubo enkantolo ukuthi indzaba yethu bayitsina akafanele ukuthi kuphambanwe nenkantolo kepha ke ngisho Mr President ukuthi lenhloso yokuvala i-trading account bekukwe ukuthi CTA are reported njengabo konke e-Ministry of Works etimalini nako konke authorized controlling officer e-Works.
Senators, when reacting to the minister's statement, most of them commended the minister together with the ministry's officials for closing the trading account.
But sifuna kubonga minister na PS and the team that they work with, for, if I may call it, for grabbing the bull by the horns and actually taking on this task. CTA has been a talk for many years in this country.
Lokuthi hang in balance nekuthi sengene tinkantolo kodwa kukhomba nje sikhona ukusetshenziswako leli engakusho ne Mr President. Ngithi savala le debate kodwa nje mina ngiyanetiseka ukuthi asesimbone wamnguni ahamba asebenzeleni lo system.
Ngicela kusho ke Mr President ukuthi ekati sophumile sakene ugcole ikhothanyalo sasivile sifisa kona lokho ukuthi nelabanye kuthi lokade aphumile ngaphandle abona kahle idliwe kakhulu imali yakahulumeni ukudlala ngahulumeni.
When responding to questions on why CTA Board of Directors have been in office for 6 years, the minister explained that such a board does not exist. The minister says senators were referring to an old report. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Parliament.
We will now take a look at the COVID-19 updates from the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has reported 10 new COVID-19 cases in the country in the last 24 hours. A total of 392 results were received today, out of which 10 tested positive for coronavirus. The total number of confirmed cases to date is 5,909. The statement shows that there are 225 active cases. 5,557 have recovered, 117 have died, and 10 have been registered for care. The statement also shows that there are 2,652 confirmed cases in Manzini region. Hoho region has 2,238 cases. Lubombo region has 526 cases. And Shiselweni region has 493 cases of coronavirus. 3 people who owe government money through the Poverty Reduction Fund are reported dead. The 3 owe government a total of over 84,000 emalangeni. This transpired when the fund defaulters appeared before the Public Accounts Committee.
Defaulters in the Poverty Reduction Fund appeared before the Public Accounts Committee on Friday. These were from the Lubombo and Manzini regions. During the session, it transpired that 3 of the defaulters have died. One of the deceased owes 32,472 emalangeni and is from the Lubombo region under Matanjeni North constituency. The deceased relatives confirmed knowledge of the loan but politely declined to commit to pay back the money, saying he was yet to consult with family members. The other 2 deceased are from Manzini region and their relatives promised to settle the loans. One of the defaulters owes 100,892 emalangeni. The deceased spouse, after confirming knowledge of the loans, settled it. The third deceased owes 50,000 emalangeni. His spouse acknowledges the loan. She pleaded with the committee to pay 500 emalangeni monthly starting from next month. There are 17 out of 33 defaulters from the Lubombo region, while there were 18 out of 56 defaulters from the Manzini region. PAC chairperson Pilap Telezi says the committee will continue to hunt down all defaulters and make them to pay back the money. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Parliament.
Women-in-Law Eswatini has gathered Parliament staff to discuss issues of human rights, gender equality and women participation from the community level to the regional level. Research Associate at WLSA Sizakele Hlatshwayo says this is the first step towards the sensitization of MPs who are key in ensuring women participation as they make laws that provide opportunities for women to take part in leadership positions.
Women in Law Eswatini, in partnership with the European Union, run a program on gender equality, human rights, and women participation in leadership. It's aimed at sensitizing the nation at large on the importance of women participation because decisions that are made at leadership level have an influence on which route to take towards development or the welfare of Eswatini. Sizakele Tlachwayo says this is the first step towards sensitization of MPs who are key in ensuring women participation as they make laws that provide opportunities for women to take part in leadership positions from community to regional level.
We are starting with the parliament staff because they work with the parliamentarians on a day-to-day basis. So we believe that when we have sensitized them, then they'll be able to influence or work well with the parliamentarians in terms of our rolling out the programs and also making the parliamentarians understand the importance of this program.
Tlachwayo says this program is very important because as an organization, they believe that women should be afforded equal opportunities. Reporting, I'm Lungwelele Makakula with Muslim Konta, Zolweni.
The Eswatini Sugar Association has awarded a grant of 129,600 emalangeni to the University of Eswatini's Institute of Research in Traditional Medicine, Medical and Indigenous Food, which will be used by one of the institution's postgraduate students, Gcinile Mkoko, who is pursuing her Master of Science in Food Science and Technology. Mkoko will conduct a study on how the kingdom's sugar industry can be best diversified.
In a period of time when world economies struggle to counter the effects of the outbreak of COVID-19, government and different industry players in Eswatini are actively seeking ways of resuscitating the country's economy. It is against this backdrop that the Eswatini Sugar Association has awarded a grant to the University of Eswatini's Institute for Research in Traditional Medicine, Medicinal and Indigenous Food. This grant will mainly be used by one of the institution's postgraduate students as she undertakes research on how Eswatini's sugar industry can be best diversified. Speaking during the handover of this grant, Eswatini Sugar Association Chief Executive Officer Dr. Philip Nisi said it is high time Eswatini ventured into value addition instead of selling raw sugar.
ESA saw this as an opportunity to engage in collaborative research for the sugar cane industry, especially in the areas of diversification, value addition and beneficiation.
University of Eswatini Vice Chancellor Professor Justice Twala expressed the institution's willingness to partner with more private sector players who want to conduct research.
UNESCO is endowed with qualified and capable academic staff in many disciplines and provides an excellent opportunity for academia industry partnerships.
Master of Science in Food Science and Technology student Gcinile Mkoko, who was awarded the grant, committed herself to undertaking a high-quality research project.
Being granted such an opportunity is a huge blessing which one should never take for granted. I am hoping that this will set an example to other companies to invest in such programs in the university, as this plays a huge role in research and development and also in the transfer of new knowledge.
The Eswatini Sugar Association further made an undertaking to collaborate with the university in future through provisions of an MOU signed by both entities in June this year. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengwendlo with Mbonga Dube at Gwaluseni.
Gender Links Eswatini has officially launched this year's edition of the SADC Protocol at Work Summit, which is aimed at addressing issues such as training gender focal points in local authorities. This will be followed by a regional summit to be held in South Africa. Eswatini is expected to attend the summit.
Gender Links Eswatini partnered with the Commonwealth and the Local Governments Association. The objective of the summit is to gather evidence on voice and choice, through case studies on action, leadership, and institutional practice, and also to acknowledge and affirm survivors of gender violence who are reclaiming their lives, and to establish new baseline scores for the Centers of Excellence for Gender in Local Government in line with the Agenda 2030 SADC Protocol on Gender and Development. Gender Links Country Manager Ngane Mazia says this summit is very important.
Sharing ideas and also learning from each other of what they are doing, as well as networking, whereby after the presentations we will be having awards, whereby we are expecting a runner-up and a winner and a runner-up. A winner is the one who will be representing the country in the regional summit when there will be all the countries in the SADC region.
She says this summit will be followed by a summit to be held in Joburg on a date yet to be announced. Reporting, I'm Lungilile Makakula, Thumbonga Dube, Zulwini.
And in our sports news today, Chairman of Manzini Wanderers Council of Elders, Joe Ngomane, says the ongoing reports pertaining the club's management committees and the club's national supporters committees will not sit well with the new club's director, who is expected to be unveiled before the end of this week. Ngomane revealed this when speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Manzini.
Ahead of the new Premier League season of 2020-2021, Chairman of Council of Elders at Manzini Wanderers, Joe Ngomane, says the ongoing reports at the club, where it's being reported that there are 2 management committees and 2 national supporters committees, will not sit well with the new club's director, expected to be unveiled this week.
Yeah, inkinga vele kulomsindo lo. Mloko ukuthi thina la ka Wanderers wale mhlambe nakulamanye ema club kunebantu labadzala.
Ngomane says the club has legends, fans and people who have it at heart. So whenever there are issues that are being reported publicly, especially in a negative manner, it does not sit well with them. This applies to the new director and the players as well.
Kukhona yini lapha itawuzuza khona noma mhlambe la itawuphumelela khona.
Ngomane also elaborated on the arrival of the new director.
Director ndawuthi ukhona, it's a matter of ukuthi ede ngala.
Ngomane says the new director has been identified. What is left is to unveil him to the public, something that should be done by the end of this week.
Bekasithembisile lokho ukuthi kulo leliviki utawufika.
He did not wish to elaborate on the club's representative at the Premier League of Eswatini between Bongani Mdluli and Sandile Dlamini. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fapisumsonera, Mbabane.
Local top athletes Andile Senga, Pumlile Nzinisa and Sbusiso Matenja say their aim in this year's national championships is to try and improve their personal best rather than finishing first in the tournament. The 3 athletes revealed this when wrapping up their preparations for the national championships to take place this coming Saturday at Mavuso Sports Center.
With few hours left before the national championships take center stage, local top athletes being Andile Senga, who runs 400 meters, Pumlile Nzinisa, who runs both 100 and 200 meters, and Sbusiso Matenja, who also runs both 100 and 200 meters, say that their main target at this year's national championships is to try and improve their personal best and record a better time rather than finishing first.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to be competing, and then I've tried to prepare myself for this one. Not about being position 1, but again, it's about me being competitive. Again, you know, I compete against, you know, the world. It's not like, you know, I'm here and then I want to be above, you know, all the athletes, the country athletes. But then again, I want to be competitive, you know, worldwide.
Kusasa 100 meters ne 20 meters kufuna ngihambe at least nangabe ngigijime kahle with a very full focus ifuna ngimgijime 11.
I think I'm ready for tomorrow. I'm looking forward to run at least 20.7 and 200 meters. and turn 3 in 100 meters.
The athletes believe this will give them a belief that they are ready to represent the country internationally come next year. The national championships will be held on this Saturday, the 31st of October this year, from 9 in the morning at Mafso Sports Center in Manzini. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Manzini.
We've come to the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. The Prime Minister says government is keen on making use of the many opportunities in the IC sector that have come about as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. The Deputy Prime Minister's office has presented the overview of the third COVID-19 regulations of 2020 to the Office Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly. The Minister of Public Works and Transport says the hostile relationship between the ministry's Principal Secretary and Central Transport General Transport Manager was caused by the closure of the CTA trading account. Eswatini, that is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.